Welcome to another episode of The Latest with Maya. Today I am having a conversation with actress Jessy Schram. You've seen Jessy in the shows Once Upon a Time, Falling Skies, and Nashville. You can currently see Jessy in Chicago Med as Dr. Hannah Asher. I am very excited to get to talk with you today. Thank you so much for being on my show.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah. So let's get started.
And
So
I apologize. I tried kicking him out of the room, but he's just he'll be wandering around my cat. So
yeah, my dog was just in here and then she decided she wanted to be in her bed. So
she knew there'd be a cat in the room and she just didn't need to
yeah,
deal with. Yeah.
yeah. Um, yeah, so my first question for you is, what genre of movie would your life story be told as?
Oh my gosh, definitely a dark comedy. No, I think that in comedy there's always something really tragic and vice versa. And I think I've had a very adventurous and interesting life that has been really deep and really comical in different ways. So I would say dark
Yeah.
comedy.
Oh, I
Single.
love
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, so who has had the biggest impact on you professionally?
Oh, wow. I was talking about this the other day, how there've definitely been people that didn't even know that they were mentors of mine along the way
Yeah.
that just kind of
Yeah.
would step into my life at just the right times. I've had so many different people that I've been able to look up to. When I first moved to Los Angeles, it was Leah Thompson. My first big job there was a show called Jane Doe, and she played my mom. And she really took me in, and I got to see her direct for the first time. And she was somebody that inadvertently taught me a lot about the business. But along the way, I feel like on every set, there was a writer named Bob Rodat. He wrote Saving Private Ryan, and he was a really big mentor to me while I was on Falling Skies. So he was a big deal to me as well. But there's definitely a lot of people that have stepped in, whether it be our lead actor on the show that I'm really involved with, or it could be a background artist, or, the driver of the show that kind of always has stepped in and taught me something along the way that I should remember.
Yeah. Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It comes on at work, you meet so many different people, and everybody
Yeah.
everybody can teach you a lesson or give you a safe place to land if you allow it.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I love that. Yeah. Um, so who has had the biggest impact on you personally?
Ooh, definitely my mom. I think that that would be a safe answer, as well as my great grandpa. My mom is somebody that I started the business when I was about 10 years old here in Chicago. And so I would just, be auditioning for commercials. And she always taught me, nothing was a competition. It's just in the room, they were looking for a certain type of wallpaper, and you were either it or you weren't. And she was definitely like the person that she's my biggest cheerleader still to this day. So she definitely has a major impact. But I think performance wise or entertainment wise, my grandpa Bill, when I was younger, he always told me he was a silent movie actor. I don't know if that was also just one of his amazing stories that he loved to tell. But he would always, when I was younger, I would stop by his house in downtown Chicago, and he would teach me, how to walk through a room, and he had these grand stories, and you make everything fun. And I feel like I definitely got that from him and that side of my family.
Yeah. Oh, I love that.
Yeah, make
Yeah.
everything fun.
Yeah. I love that. Yeah, yeah, I think you have to, yeah, make everything fun in some way. So,
Exactly. That's why it's a dark comedy, everything.
yeah.
So
Yeah. So what small things bring you joy on a daily basis?
Ooh, great question. I love all these
Thank
questions,
you.
by the way.
Oh,
They're
thank
they're
you.
special. Well, my cat, he brings me the most joy ever. Very
Oh,
dependent on him, but he brings me so much joy.
oh,
I feel like dance parties bring me joy. Getting to walk outside, be in nature in some kind of way, even in a big city, just getting
yeah,
fresh air brings me a lot of joy.
yeah.
I have a husband now, so that's really fun. And he makes me breakfast, and I feel like that's one of the my favorite times of the day.
Yeah.
So I definitely find, or just like a lot in small interactions. I really love interactions with people and getting to know strangers in the most
Yeah,
basic way. Eye contact brings me joy, as uncomfortable as it can be
yeah.
sometimes. That
Yeah,
sounded weird, but it's true.
yeah. Yeah, I love that. Yeah. Yeah. Um, so yeah, I am pop culture obsessed and I go in stages of shows that I cannot stop watching. Is there a show that you are currently obsessed with?
Okay, so you're asking me at the exact right time. Not only am I very into reality shows, I have to admit I love them because I like watching the psychological trauma that's happening. But last night I just put on Mr. and Mrs. Smith on Amazon. I
Yes.
am obsessed. Have you watched that one yet?
I have, yeah. I love
Love
that
it.
show. Yeah.
It was so good. I feel like it was
Yeah.
one where I was like, okay, I'm going to be doing my podcast. I need to get good sleep. Like it's been a long week. And I started watching and I was in like episode 5. I definitely did not get
Oh,
enough.
yeah.
But I feel like the interactions between the two main characters and how things go are
Yeah.
it's so awesome. I'm obsessed with
Yeah.
that show. And
Yeah.
my dream is always to do like an action show or an undercover spy or like a cop or something like that. So whenever I get to see like an Alias or a Mr. and Mrs. Smith, I get really excited.
Yeah. Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I loved that show. My mom and I binge watched it together and I think we watched it all in like 2 days.
Yep, that makes sense. Later
Yeah.
today, I'll definitely after I learn my lines for tomorrow, that's what I'll be doing. I
Yeah.
also just watched Griselda on Netflix.
Oh,
Did
I
you see
haven't seen that one yet.
I I'm curious to see. I want to know how you feel about it when you do watch it. But I loved it. I thought it was
Okay.
so fun and like the set deck and the costumes and everybody was just amazing in it.
Oh, yeah, I started watching it and that was another show I started watching with my mom and then it was a day like we weren't really in the mood for it, so we
You
um
gotta be in the mood.
yeah,
You definitely
yeah,
have to. I wasn't even gonna start it because I was like, I don't know. I've already watched, Queen of the South or different things. But then once it starts going, I think I was super, super into the detail of the world that they created and was just
yeah,
so impressed by that. Yeah.
yeah. Oh, I love that.
I
Yeah,
get it. You gotta be in the mood. You definitely need
yeah.
to be in the mood for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm hoping we will go back to that soon when we're in the mood for it.
If you do, I want to review. I want to know what you guys think.
Oh, I will. Yeah. Yeah. Do you have a go-to show or movie like when you just want to escape and be comforted?
I definitely lean into comedy and I love watching things that I've seen before. So
Yeah.
like I guess one of my two of my favorite comedies or rom-coms would be How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days. I feel like I could watch that a
Yeah.
million times. The Proposal. Like I'll definitely
Yeah.
go to rom-coms
Yeah.
when I just need to relax and to not process anything.
Yeah.
When I'm like, and you can maybe do
Well,
some laundry. I think that's why I love like, and it's
yeah.
company. And I
Yeah.
mean, honestly, I love the reality shows, but sometimes they just fight too much for comfort.
Yeah.
Or go to of what you go to.
I okay, that's hard because I have like so many that I rotate between. So I for movies I have Shazam and Home Again,
Okay.
and The Prom, and then there's so many shows I just rotate between. I like go from Will and Grace and Friends, and then um the two other ones that have been major comfort shows for me are The Flash and The Tomorrow People.
Oh, I haven't seen the Tomorrow People.
Yeah, I found it over the summer and watched it all the way through, and then I've just been keep going back since it was only on for one season.
What I've found myself doing is because there was a show called Home Economics that I think just got canceled, which
Yeah,
I
I
love.
yeah, I was obsessed with that
You were
show.
too. I
Yeah,
loved it. I felt like they were
yeah,
my best friends, and I was so sad to hear
yeah,
that it's not coming back. So I'll
me
go to
too.
those. Like, I think what I love to do is I'll start a show, like that was more in real time, but I'll definitely go back and then just do all of Will and Grace.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
like I love starting something that has multiple seasons because then I can really commit to
yeah,
it.
yeah,
And then I know that there's time for me to be invested in that they're going to be with me for a while. So I really love going
yeah,
back and starting something. Or I think I've watched How I Met Your Mother twice. That's definitely a go-to as well. I love
yeah,
going to
me too.
single cam shows and sitcoms
Yeah,
for my comfort for sure.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Home Economics and How I Met Your Mother are, yeah, also two comfort shows of mine.
Yeah, I mean, I will say the OG, well, I guess there is only one OG. I was thinking, I know that there's How I Met Your Father, which I never really tried or got into. I stick to what I know.
Mm, yeah.
Yeah, but I love that you loved that show too, because I feel like
Yeah,
most people didn't know about it, and I was obsessed with
yeah,
it. I loved it.
yeah, me too. Yeah, I actually interviewed Topher Grace when I was doing my show at Secret Studios.
Yeah.
And yeah, I just love that show so much. I could just go on and on about it.
Yeah. It's yeah, I loved that. There's so many
Yeah,
out there. Last night I did also I've been having a few intense weeks. You know, we're definitely into filming, like far along. You're starting to get into like the drag or the drama of different things and feelings. And I definitely this week just put on older movies. Like I put in G.I. Jane. I don't think I've ever seen G.I. Jane with Demi Moore from like the 80s or early 90s. Absolutely loved it. I just want to go back and watch classics now. Like I want to go back and watch something where you
yeah,
could just be fully involved in the entertainment aspect of it, you know?
yeah,
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 like, I want to get lost in it.
yeah.
In this world
Definitely.
that cannot possibly be mine. I love that. Kind of like a Shazam, you know?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. Yeah, I don't know, I lean more towards comedy, but then there's some, like I don't like more dramas that I also go to because they can, I don't know, when it's not like so heavy, um, like it's
Yeah.
dramatic but not super heavy, that still like that can become a comfort show for me because like it
Yeah.
can just help me escape. And
We just did True Detective. You just like stimulated some things in my mind. And then do you ever watch The Great on Hulu?
I don't.
It's one where it's a drama, but it's mixed. It's a comedy as well. But that's one like you kind of get lost in and it's really nice. But if you ever want to make yourself cry, you should watch P.S. I Love You with Hilary Swank.
Oh, okay.
Go cry. If you want, if because also sometimes you just like need to cry. So
Yeah.
Yes, I
Yeah,
love you makes me cry
definitely.
most of the time. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, well, if you want, yeah, a show that, um, makes you cry, there's a mini series on Netflix called One Day.
Oh, I don't know this one.
It's so good and it's also very emotional.
Okay. I love
So,
so sometimes you just got to
yeah,
be in your heels, even if you didn't know
yeah,
you needed. Yeah.
yeah, definitely. Yeah, yeah. But yeah, Chicago Med has also become an escape show for me. So,
Oh, that makes me so happy.
cute.
That's
Yeah,
not a light show. There's a lot going on, and
yeah,
there's so much medical, and definitely this season we're bringing in way more personal to things, but
yeah,
it's a that it can be an intense show. So I love
yeah.
that. I love that this is one of your escapes, though.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know that I know it can be super intense, but there's just like I get so sucked into the world that it does help me escape.
That's what
So
I want to hear.
yeah.
I'm glad you love to spend time with us.
Yes. Thank you. Yeah. And yeah, your character is one of my favorites. So
Oh, thank you. Thank
yeah.
you. Have you been watching since the beginning?
So I started, I didn't because I held off for a while because I don't know, I feel like there's very few medical shows that I've actually watched since
Right.
my mom and I always joke that it's kind of our life. So, um,
Mhm.
but I did start watching a few months ago. I started watching Chicago Med because I've always wanted to watch it, and then also when um Luke Mitchell announced that he was gonna be in the new season, I was like, I need to start watching this.
Oh
So
my gosh, I'm totally gonna let him know that we had a new viewer because of him, which I'm pretty positive we have thousands of new viewers because of him. So that's really, really great. And he's just so awesome. So that makes me so happy. And it is, I feel like it's a great season to
yeah,
start in because there's been a shift
yeah,
in characters and new people, and
yeah,
it's a little bit different writing this season too. So
yeah,
I feel like it's a great season to start. Like you're not completely lost if you're starting now in the ninth season, you
yeah.
know?
Yeah, and I went back and I've been watching like the different seasons so I can
Oh,
get caught
nice.
up so I could get caught up on all the characters. So
Very smart. We do TV the same way for sure.
yeah.
I need some backstory, but I don't need it from day one.
Yeah.
Just give me what I need in that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that makes me so happy. And thank you for loving Hannah too.
Yeah.
She's definitely very, very special to me. So thank you.
Yeah, I think she's awesome. So yeah,
Well, and it's funny too. It's interesting you mentioned, your world is so much in the hospital and you and your mom. And like, I feel like when I was younger, and even now at different times in my life, so much is in the medical world in real life. So sometimes it can
yeah,
turn you away from wanting that as your escape. But I'm
yeah,
guessing that there's a bit of a comfort, or you have a lot of judgment towards different things of like,
yeah.
that's not real, or why wish I had a waiting room like that,
Yeah, it can go both ways. There's
Yeah.
sometimes like, yeah, yeah, it can go both ways that it can be a comfort for me. And then also I'm watching it, I'm like, that wasn't my experience.
There's definitely quite a few of those. Or I have a friend, he deals with neurofibromatosis, and that's something where we did a few storylines on that. And it was that thing where I got a text from him being like, "Thank you guys so much," which I'm not a writer, so I send this to them to thank them. But thank you so much for sharing this storyline. Not a lot of people know. And then dot dot dot. That wasn't my experience, but now I'm happy people know about this.
Yeah,
Because not that that's not the experience, but a lot of the times we'll have more of the stories that are a little bit more rare because it's interesting.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I there have been a couple episodes though, that I start watching and then I find out there's a brain tumor storyline in that episode, and just like I want to find out what's happening, but I don't think I can watch this. So the brain tumor episodes, like those are the ones that I stay away from, but
It's
yeah,
understandable because it's
yeah,
so close to home. There's definitely things within the
yeah,
storylines that, are very relevant within the news, or personally it
yeah,
kind of triggers you. And we're actually filming an episode where it's not my storyline, but it's so close to home that sometimes it can be difficult to read, but it's also very cathartic at sometimes.
yeah,
And then other ways, sometimes you almost get to live through watching somebody else do it. And it's the give or take of it's too close to home, or wow, I got to live something through this storyline on TV now,
yeah,
but I feel like so many of our things that I get to hear from people on the streets, especially with Hannah, is how much the show affects them on the personal level, or these
yeah,
storylines will match up in their life,
yeah,
whether it be themselves or someone that they know. And I'm always just so blown away and impressed that like our writers do reality, and everybody can relate in some
yeah,
kind of way.
yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. Yeah. So what is your favorite way to procrastinate?
That's a fantastic question because I'm a fantastic procrastinator.
Yeah.
If you want me to get something done and to do it well, let me wait until the last minute.
Yeah.
Oh man, I definitely will. I'll turn on a show in the background and then I'll just kind of slowly get sucked into it because then my mind is listening to my quote unquote friends on the TV.
Yeah.
So I get sucked into this storyline. I'm really good at just randomly like when I procrastinate, I start baking. So if I have a lot going on and I'm too
Yeah.
anxious, I will just start baking cookies because that's what you need
Yeah.
to do in the priority level, of course. So I bake
Yeah.
with my procrastination. I will go for walks, but I clean. I just randomly like rush
Oh,
clean when I'm
yeah.
procrastinating on things.
Yeah.
It's still productive, but it's not the task at hand that needs to be done.
Yeah.
What
I
about you?
Well, I feel like my procrastinating is definitely not as productive as yours. It's either if I'm like I have to do this, but I really don't want to, or I really don't feel like it right now, I will just watch like if I'm binge watching a show, I will just keep watching and I'll be like, I'll do it after this next episode and then after this next one.
That was literally last night where I was like, oh man, I never stay up late. So I was almost like rebelling by watching more, even though the
Oh,
only person
yeah,
it harms is myself. Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah. It happens way more often than I like to admit.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Um, so what do you wish people better understood about you?
Ooh, that's a good question. Um, hmm, that is a fantastic question. I think, oh, you're getting in my insecurities right here. I'm being vulnerable now. Think that there's an element of people can see me as a very upbeat person, which I really love, and people bring that out of me. I love to be around people,
Yeah,
but there is also an element of my life that deals with a lot of insecurities or anxieties, and
yeah,
um I'm a very social introvert. So there's an element of that too, where it's like I think that sometimes people can think that I'm just energetic and over here when the reality is I
yeah.
can understand a lot more depth maybe than people will initially give you credit for. And
Yeah,
life
yeah,
maybe isn't always as easy as it can seem on the surface. Yeah.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, yeah. Um, so what three words do you think best describe you?
Ooh. Energetic, I'll put that out there. Empathetic. And ooh, what's the other word? Adventurous.
Yeah. Oh, I love those. Yeah.
Yeah, I would say adventurous for sure.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah. So if you had a reality TV show about your life, what would it be called?
Oh, fantastic question. Man, you are coming out with the good ones right now. Things that I haven't really thought about. Oh, oh man, that's a great question. Let's go with the Sunshine Wanderer.
Yeah. Oh.
Because then I just feel like then you get to go into all kind of steps or walks of life, but it's
Yeah.
still has a positive spin on it there.
Yeah. I love that.
Yeah, because you get a lot of weather still, or the weathered wanderer, something with weather.
Yeah, I love that. If you had a warning label,
Oh
what
God.
would yours say?
Let's see. Caution in big red letters. Caution. Let's see. Caution, heavy winds, because again, it'll swing all over the place. Tornadoes coming. Yeah.
Yeah.
What's your
I
warning
love
label?
that. Um, I feel like I'd have many warning labels, so it's hard to pick just one.
I know that's why I was like caution, deep emotions.
Yeah, yeah,
Caution.
yeah. I
Yeah.
feel like it would be like there's a lot caution, there's a lot going on up here. So
I want that bumper sticker very much. Caution, there's a lot going on. Period.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Just be patient.
Oh, I love that. Caution, be patient.
Yeah.
Those are really sweet and I very much relate. Yeah.
Yeah, I think also I came up with one a while ago that I think it would be like prone to anxiety. Don't
Okay.
overload because I can get very overwhelmed easily. So
Is it just caution overload?
yeah.
Yeah. That's just, I feel like the more simple with a period on the end just really makes
Yeah,
the biggest impact. Yeah.
yeah, definitely.
Overloaded. Yeah.
Yeah.
What's the most interesting answer you've heard when you've asked that question?
Oh.
Or like when it took you by surprise or was super crafty?
Oh. Uh there's I don't know. There's been so many, and as soon as you asked me that, I can't remember any of them.
No, I know. I feel like after this, it's always that thing of driving home where you're just like, oh, wait, I have an answer for you. I have the most perfect title for you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Afterwards is when you'll know. But
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Definitely. Um, so I love inspiring and motivational quotes. And this week, my favorite quotation is be so confident in knowing what you bring to the table that you're willing to eat alone until you find the right table.
Oh,
Yeah. Is there a quotation that has inspired you lately?
ooh, there's actually a few. I woke up this morning and actually it sounds so weird. So there's two things that I've memorized in my life. I'll use them almost as prayers. There's an E. E. Cummings poem that's I thank you, Lord, for most this amazing day, for the leaping greenly spirits of trees and the blue true dream of sky. And it's kind of just in that space of gratitude. And there's this Mother Teresa poem, May today there be peace within, everything that kind of grounds you. And I feel like the quote that always will get me is just be here now. Just here
Yeah.
now. Very simple. And yeah, I always drink tea, and there's actually, let's see. This one says, and I loved this one. One who brings happiness to others will find it.
Oh, I love that.
Definitely will always read the quotes on my tea, my little yogi teas in the morning, and try and inhabit that in some kind of way, just as a reminder.
Oh, I love that. I
Yeah.
love those. Yeah. Well, I have just had the best time talking with you. I feel like I could just talk with you all day. So,
Same. I know I have so many questions for you too.
well, I'd love to answer them.
There's so much, but I know I'm guessing we're running out of time now.
I mean, I would love to just keep talking with you. So,
Well, can I ask you a question? Because I feel like I maybe skipped over it a little bit. And because I definitely did some research with you as well when they're like, hey, well, Maya wants to talk to you. And I love to know who the person is or what that means or how. And I think I brushed a little bit of I was very touched by your story as well. I have a uncle that has dealt with different brain tumors in his life, and I myself, when I was younger, spent a lot of time in the children's hospital for my own neuro seizures, which is not something a lot of people know about me. And so not only did I love your interviews and how you asked your questions and what you were able to bring out of people and who you are within that, let alone what you've accomplished with all that you're doing in your personal world and in this world of podcasting. I felt a very strong pull in my own relating to maybe a small part of what you've been through in your life. And you had mentioned when we talked a little bit about Chicago Med that a storyline will come up and you just don't necessarily need to go there. When those things come up, how do you deal with it? When things hit a little too close to home with the story that you're going through, is there a time period that you feel like you're more um willing to expose yourself to those kind of storylines? Or I guess my question is, how do you deal with when you see a story that's similar to yours portrayed? What do you do in those scenarios?
I don't I don't know. It's hard to, because I mean, there are shows that like I feel very connected with characters who are going through cancer, even though I never see like someone going through the kind of cancer I went through on shows. And even if they're because all the characters that I'm thinking of, their experiences have been so different. Because I mean, they have been different cancers, but it's still like, I don't know, showing that, even though I sometimes, with not with Chicago Med, but with other shows, I think that's not really how it all works. Um,
Because it doesn't
but
get through the details within it.
yeah, yeah, and I feel like sometimes people like tying it all into like a little bow and making it all perfect, and it's like I sometimes get very frustrated with that, because I'm like, that's never real life. It's not always
Right.
perfect.
What would you like to see in the portrayal? Like if you had an episode and you got to be a character within one with your story or part of your story, because I know that there's definitely different points along the journey of where you're on at different points in
Yeah.
time. What would you want to see portrayed?
I'd love to see something that, it's somebody, goes through all the cancer treatment, and then, they're cancer free, but they're living with the side effects of everything that they went through, and they're not like perfectly healthy after that, because I'm always like, I wish that was what happened,
It
but
gets
that's
better.
not.
No, you're fine. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
not how that goes most of the time. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I will say I know there are some people that like can relate to that. I'm not trying to discount that. I'm just saying there's also a lot of people that can't relate to that. So when other shows like show that, I don't know. I'm like, that's not always what happens, and not
Right.
everybody is, like back back to normal. And
Right.
yeah.
Right. Within that time. Well, thank you for sharing that with me. I know I'm like now asking, like I said, I was so curious and I feel like I skipped over that moment and I didn't want to because I definitely wanted to know what, in your journey. And like you said, so many people have their own and can relate to different parts of that. But for you, what would be that thing that you would want to see portrayed or that would feel a little more true to heart for your story? So thank
Yeah.
you for sharing that.
Yeah. Well, thank you for asking.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I have just had, again, I've had the best time talking with you. Thank you so much for joining me today. I so appreciate your taking the time. So thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for asking me. It's such an honor.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, I hope you have a great rest of your day. Uh,
Thank you.
yeah. And that's a wrap on today's edition of the latest with Maya.